Running an ultra marathon doesn't just come to you. It's miles upon miles of effort, hours and hours in the gym. And today we get to look at the other side of the fence from the coaching perspective and from someone who's experiencing it firsthand. Hello and welcome to the Ultra Running Podcast with me, Coach Marshy. So let's bring in today's guest. So I'd like to welcome to the show, Ash Gilbert. Hello, Ash. How are you?
Hi, Neil. Good, thanks. How are you?
Yeah, no, all good. Thank you. Thanks for coming on the show, mate. We really appreciate your time.
Thanks for having me, mate. Thanks for having me.
No worries. So just a bit of background from my perspective. So I actually used to work with Ash's brother, and we'd never actually met until one day we were standing in a queue of toilet traffic ready before an ultra marathon. I sort of turned around, looked at this guy, sort of thought I recognised him. And there it was. It was Ash who was there to do, I believe, the Grim Reaper 40 miler at the time, was it?
That's it. Yeah, mate. Yeah.
And that's sort of how we
go now.
Yeah, it is 2016, I think that was. So yeah, so we met, that's how we met. And then just various other events since then where we just stumble across each other. And actually, I believe you went on a course with someone from my running club recently.
Yes, that's it. Yeah.
Just before the pandemic, I think it was. You went on a, what was it, mountain leader or something like that? Or
it was mountain running. It was basically biomechanics and how to improve your hill training and hill running. So
excellent.
Yeah, it was a good course, and we took a lot from it.
Excellent. So we might dive into that in a bit, Ash. So just before we do dive into sort of the more specific stuff, so who are you? What do you do? Obviously, anyone who's watching this will be able to see that Ash is in his private gym facility that he owns there. So what is it you do, and what's your involvement in running?
Okay, mate. Well, I'm an ultra runner. Family man. This is my studio, like I said. We're Naked Fitness in Downham Market, Norfolk. I have a long history of running as well as coaching, I suppose. My running started back when I was 6, so that's three decades of running now. And I first started as a personal trainer about 13 years ago. So the running coaching has come slightly later on. I've probably been running coaching for 5 or 6 years. Ultra running, my first ultra was 9 years ago now. So
wow.
Yeah, the experience is there, and together with the clients here, we're getting some good results now.
Excellent. So you're a family man, so you got kids?
Yes, yeah. We have a business and a wife and 3 kids. It's hard to fit it all in sometimes, but it's you will know how important running is for somebody. So you make the time, and if you've got a support network around you, my kids are very, very understanding. And as are my clients, they if I've got a spare hour in a day, I'll jump on the treadmill, and if one of them comes in to say hi, they almost expect me to be running. Make it happen.
Yeah, no, that's really interesting actually, because it's nice to hear that perspective, because I share that with you in the fact of being a dad and having a family, and I think there's a lot of hours go into this, and actually the clients are important in that as well, because they need to understand that you've got the family and you want to do your own training as well, and that's really important. So great to hear someone else's actually perspective that is very similar to mine. So in terms of the ultra running yourself then, what was the first ultra marathon you did?
The first ultra was the Adventure Hub Norfolk Coastal 100K.
Right.
It was that's a big leap, big step in from. I'd only ever actually done one marathon before that, and it was I was at university at the time. I'd done the London Marathon. I ran just under 4 hours, and you know, as a university student, I was fueled on beer and kebabs, and I hadn't done a lot of training. I remember coming home one weekend and running 20 miles with my dad on a bike, and it ripped my feet to shreds. And but we got it done, and it was just under 4 hours. And I think I went to the pub like the following weekend, and one of my mates basically just said, like, how was it? And I was like, yeah, it was all right. It was hard, but it was all right. And he literally just said, meaning nothing in it, he just said, how far do you think you could run? And I said, I have no idea. And ultra running, this, like I say, was 9-10 years ago now. This was, and it wasn't nowhere near as big as what it is now. And races were few and far between. I think now you could run an ultra every weekend now, but these were few and far between. And it just happened that there was one on the Norfolk coast. I don't live too far from there, and put my name down. And I'll be honest with you, Marshy, I probably walked a good 50% of that. You know, definitely the last 20 miles was just a death march. But that kind of created something. And I remember my mum saying, like, and I finished, and I was in a pretty bad way, beaten up, physically, mentally, emotionally, you know how it is. And my mum said, like, there's your answer, you know, 100K. And I kind of just looked at her with a little stubborn smile and said, like, yeah, didn't kill me though, did it? And the next event I done was the North Downs 100, the Centurion North Downs 100.
Wow, 100 miler.
100 miles, yeah. Awesome. And that's as far as I've gone. That is as far as I've gone. I have got plans to run further. And I'm not, just put it out there, you know, I've got family and friends. I'm not running till I die. You know, it isn't a test to see how far I can run before I pop it. But I think those two races, probably the Norfolk 100K, that first ultra, really was that kind of, you know, this is different. This isn't short shorts and vests and, you know, pounding on the pavements. This is I mean, the company I don't think exists anymore, but it's an adventure. It was an adventure hub, and, you know, I felt like I'd been on a true adventure that day. And I think you know, we both have spoke about it. You run an ultra, and I don't think you ever look back. Like, you know, there is definitely a bug there that wants you to, whether it is run further or just run faster. Once you hit that ultra running world, you won't turn around and leave it, I don't think.
Yeah, no, I love hearing that story I never heard before. You know, obviously spent a lot of time working as a colleague of your brother's, and sort of learnt a lot about this family that he had. And you always heard about his brother going out for 35-mile training runs or whatever. And, you know, talking to you now and hearing your version of that story, that's awesome. And it reminds me of that day that we met, because that was my first ultra in 2016, and I DNF'd it. It was a lapped ultra, and it was a 70 miler, and I DNF'd at 56 miles. Which you'll remember, had I have made another 4 miles, I'd have been back in camp and would have been able to get warm, get changed, and probably gone out again and completed it. But I didn't.
The 10 mile laps, aren't they?
Yeah, 10 mile laps that. And I think you did the 40 that day, if I'm right.
Yeah.
Did you win it?
No, I came third.
You came third?
Yeah.
Yeah, and I think for me, that experience, although I essentially failed, you're right. I completely hear what you're saying about the bug. You're in that world, and you see a different world, a different world to the short shorts and vests, as you put it. And I think you're right. I think that bug is there, and it stays with you, and you're kind of in then, and you want to stay in, and it's good to hear that. So since then, you've obviously gone on and done lots of races.
Yeah.
Has there been any of your own sort of DNFs where it hasn't gone right, or things haven't really worked out how they should have done?
Yeah. I have got a DNF on my CV. That was the autumn 100, which is now I think they now call it the winter 100. No, it was the winter 100. Yeah. And and they now call it the autumn 100. Centurion. 4 or 5 years ago now, that was. That was 100 miles. The first 25 is famously flat, fast. I ran way too fast and didn't fuel myself properly. The second 25, I don't know if you know the concept. It's a 12.5 mile out and back on 4 different spurs. And so I ran 12.5 miles there and back, got to the HQ. And I think, if I'm honest, Marshy, I knew I'd ran 25 miles. I already knew that this isn't going to be my day. And I went out and done the next spur and done that 25. Came back at 50 and started to get very cold, and I was vomiting out the back of the village hall, and I knew at that point, I think I didn't have enough self-belief and maybe a little bit of arrogance, where you go to races to run well, and you get your confidence knocked, and I didn't really know where I was or what I was doing. This hadn't really happened before, I suppose. And went out on the third leg and got to the turnaround point, and just I'd given up. And I think there are a lot of famous quotes and a lot of top ultra runners that will talk about the mindset and the belief and things. And at that point, my head had gone. I saw it as I've got 40 miles left to do. It's cold, dark, raining. I worked with a coach up until quite recently, and he talks about choosing comfort. And at that point, I chose comfort over what I was actually there to do. And that thought of a warm bed and a shower and the Premier Inn, I chose that. But I will say, and I'm sure you said that you will have the same feeling after that DNF at the Grim Reaper. It's you do that once, and the next day you wake up and you instantly regret not finishing, and you spend a lot of time, probably a week, 2 weeks. I spent reassessing what I'd done, beating myself up over it, and but you're stronger for it, I think. And I haven't DNF'd since then, and that's partly because I don't want to feel like I did back then.
Completely relate to that. That's I completely agree. I think you say you took a couple of weeks and that, like, analysing it. For me, when I did that Grim Reaper, I spent the whole next 365 days analysing what I could do better, and then went back and, to be honest,
I was thinking to
did it
say
quite
that.
easy.
I was thinking to say that. Did you go back?
Yeah, I went back and I did it quite easily. Like, no ultra's easy, but I never felt in trouble.
Yeah.
Because I did what you just said. And actually, it's really interesting that you've got that perspective as well, like that you never want to feel that again. You never want to feel that sensation again. And the whole bit about comfort as well, choosing comfort. Yeah, I get it. For me back then, it was a warm van and a heater in the van and a baby wipe shower in the toilet kind of thing. But I get what you mean. Yeah. And it really interesting that. And it's the impossible question. But if you knew what you knew now, back in that moment when you decided to drop, what would you do anything different?
I'll answer that slightly differently, I think, Neil. I think what I know now probably wouldn't put me in that position. I started too fast. I didn't fuel myself properly. I let my head get the better of me. So I think if what I know now, I went back and done that race a couple of years later. Yeah. And, my first 25 miles was half an hour slower. I was a faster athlete, but, I went there. I had two jobs to do that weekend, and that was to stand on the start line and to cross the finish line. I had no other intention of time, position. It was a case of like redemption in a way. But yeah, I think what you learn, as what I've learned it doesn't necessarily it won't change my where I'd be at that point. I think it doesn't allow me to get to that point. Does that make sense?
Yeah, no, I think it's a great answer, and I think people should take a lot from your answer there, because that's a perspective that a beginner, for example, wouldn't know. Yeah, they wouldn't know what you've just said, and what you've just said to anyone who's listening who wants to get into it. They can take that and say, well, actually, we're gonna have to get those experiences, and maybe they can learn from what you're saying there, right, and not allow themselves to get into that position in the first place.
Yeah, definitely. I like you said in the intro, I coach some guys now, and I'm forever telling them, like, it's patience. You need patience, and you are stronger than you think. Take your time. It's a long way. Whatever ultra you do, a marathon is a long way. You run a marathon, you can overcook a marathon. You run the first 10K too quick, it's a long way to go. So you multiply that by 4. You run 100 miles, you run the first 20 too fast. Like 80 miles is a long way to go. So patience, and when it does get hard, because it will get hard, believe in yourself a bit more. Don't choose the Premier Inn bar for the bed. Good quote. So last thing about your own sort of person. So how many hundreds have you done? 8.
And the reason I asked that, and that's a massive number, by the way, mate. I'm absolutely in awe of that.
Getting there.
One day I hope to get there. I've not done one yet, but I hope to get there one day. When I went to the National Running Show 2020, so just before the pandemic, it was one of the last things that was actually on. I stood in that ultra running area at the stage and sort of listened to all the bad boy running stuff and all the interviews, and I sat there and I was with Andrew Carver, who you've met, on the course, and you know, we were sitting there and we turned to each other and we said, do you feel like the conversation actually isn't how many ultras have you done, it's how many 100s have you done? And I felt like it was like that, and it felt a bit, you know, if I compare myself to someone who doesn't run, they would say what I've achieved is massive. But then when you look at where I'm at and look at your 8, that's a big difference as well. And it's all about levels, isn't it? And sometimes if you put yourself in an area where you're with people that only talk in terms of ultras as 100 milers, it's quite intimidating, right? But you're now in that club, and how does that feel? Does that feel like success to you for like personal achievement and stuff?
So yes, I mean, it's a personal achievement. I'm proud of it. I started out with a goal. You know, it started off as a how far do you think you could run, but when you start looking into this world, there are races that you think I'd love to do. You know, my best friend's just put his name in the hat for the Western States next year. Awesome. You know, these are iconic races, and to me, like now, it's not about running 1000s or 1200s, 2000s. It's where I can go next in terms of an athlete. You know, can I run it faster? Can I run somewhere new? You know, those kind of things. I mean, I'm very proud of what I've achieved, but there's so much more to achieve. And that said, I think I just don't. You can sometimes feel inadequate when you speak to some of these guys. Like you go to seminars and listen to their stories. You know, I read a lot of books, and you know, you've got the kind of celebrity ultra runners like Dean Karnazes that you know, that is so passionate, but so you know, the way he talks about his races are like, you know, on the edge of death. You know, you know, and you think like, Christ, do I not work hard enough? Or, you know, that there are so many guys out there that you can compare yourself to, and you know, it's one of those things that, as the saying goes, comparison is a thief of joy. You can compare yourself, but you really shouldn't. You know, I've got guys that I first met that were doing 5K, and you know, Kelly went from 5K and she's now run 100 miles, and you know, she will run 100 miles again. I'm sure of it. But that in itself is an incredible achievement. You know, so you shouldn't compare yourself to how many you've done. I don't think there's, you know, we all choose what race we want to do, and it's an achievement. You know, to run your first park run. You know, like you have to. You know, we didn't start running ultras straight away, did we? So
no, exactly.
It's all about the journey.
Yeah, no, I agree, completely agree, and it's fascinating what you say there. We'll get onto your clients in a second for sure, but just what you were talking about, rewinding a bit there to Western States. Do you have a bucket list race, or is there a group of races that are on that bucket list? I can answer that 100%. So I ran the Norfolk 100K. I ran the North Downs Way 100 miler, and then I read a book. It was I think it was Dean Karnazes' book actually, and he talks about the Spartathlon. Yeah.
So Sparta in Greece, 250 kilometers. It is an iconic race for anyone that's interested in ultra running. Like, I'm sure needs no introduction. It's 156 miles. It's a huge race. It's iconic, and that straight away was my bucket list race.
Awesome.
So yeah, straight away, that's I think that will be when I think, do you know what, I've really set out for what I want to achieve. I'm sure once I've done it, I'll either want to do it again, or I'll say, right, what's next? Western States, that kind of thing. But I have at the moment, I have one real hard specific dream and goal. I've got a new coach that I'm working with, which is quite closely linked to the British squad, and we have that one goal to run it. I've run the qualifying time,
right?
So I have done the qualifying time. I'm nearing the automatic qualifying time. Whether I can run that early next year, that would be phenomenal. We'll see about that. But so my name is in the hat, I guess you could say. I'm in the hat. You've got to be in it to win it, or in it to run it. So
how do you qualify? How do you qualify for that then?
It's like there's numerous qualifying standards. I think the minimum requirement is 120k in 12 hours, or 100 miles in sub 21.
Right.
So I ran under 21 hours at the Robin Hood 100 last year. So
nice.
And then I'm looking to run Flitchway 12 hours in January.
Yeah.
I should run under the qualifying time there. I'm confident with that. So we can keep the qualifying times, keep my name in the hat every year, and it won't be long. It won't be long. I'll be there soon.
Excellent. You mentioned some races there that sort of stand out to me. I think Netflix and YouTube have made certain things famous in recent years within our circles of ultra running. And I'm going to ask you the question, because I tend to think about it a lot with other people. I mean, for me, if I could go UTMB or Western States one day, then I think that would be me ticking my list, similar to your race there. But I think the Barkley Marathon was made famous from one documentary on Netflix that then ended up going through the Ginger Runner as well, with a second documentary based around Gary Robbins and stuff. So would you ever start looking at trying to go towards that?
Yeah, I would. I'd be lying if I said I hadn't thought about it. It's one of those things. It is a race that you enter almost knowing that you're not going to finish.
Yeah.
That if it's not the weather or the course, it's the cutoffs. So you have to accept that. I think it's highly likely you're going to get a DNF on that.
Yeah.
But we are a unique bunch of people, us ultra runners, and we do it because we like to challenge ourselves, and to go there. I mean, you will know, and I'm sure the listeners, it's not an easy jump on the website, pay your 45 quid, and there you go, you're there. There is a few hoops to jump through just to even be there. So or to be considered. I think with the likes of, if I can run Sparta in the next couple of years and get yourself to a few bigger prestigious races, run well, it's a chance. I think you put yourself in those circles then that you can find someone that has done it and you can ask them how to get in. And if you're in that circle of runners, you might be able to get in, or at least give yourself a shot. But we will know we are not there yet, and the thought of it is exciting, but you know that you'd be on that start line, and you've got to really know that you should be there, I think.
Well, one day, Frozen Head State Park, you never know. We might be there, and if you get there, I'll happily come and be part of your support crew.
It's a deal, mate. It's a deal. Likewise.
Yeah, that'd be great. So, moving on then a little bit from your own experiences, obviously that's developed, and you're in the personal training industry, and you became an ultra runner, and that's all sort of grown over time, and now you're really passionate about that, right? About the running coaching side of things for the ultra world.
Yeah.
And with that, if we go away from the actual running, we understand there's miles and miles and miles to do. Time on feet. We get that concept. Some of the oldest sports science in the world will talk about that. But if we talk about sort of where you are now in the gym, strength and conditioning for running, how much of that are you really doing with your clients? What are you teaching them? How are you going about it? What do you do with them?
Well, I don't want to do myself any injustice here, but with the ultra running, we train probably only at the moment once a week in the gym. Because of the volume of miles in the legs. I truly believe cross training and gym work, strength and conditioning is pivotal to success. But it's truly important. But it's time on the feet and running that's the key.
That's the key. Yeah, and with that time on feet, obviously depends what you read now, but if we go back to sort of a decade or so ago, there was a bit of sports science when I was at uni that was looking at the waste mileage of an endurance athlete being 110 miles per week, and then you sort of, is there any point physiologically in carrying on? When you're talking about recreational people that have got jobs and whatever, how many miles you putting them on? Are they running 50 plus miles a week? Are they doing 100 miles a week? Where are they at?
It depends. We spoke. It really depends on their lifestyle. It's got to fit. It has got to fit. If you're a family man, 3 children, full-time job, my business is down a market, and there's a lot of people who commute. So, it's not only a full-time job if they've then got 45 minutes an hour commute into Cambridge, Ely, London even. So it's about what they fit in. Personally, I'm on around 50, 60 miles a week. I do think you need to be hitting 30, at least. But it's structured. It's not, the limiting miles you just need to make sure you've got a good structure.
Yeah. And then as a coach within that, you've got your bits that work for you as a coach. And do you struggle between that with what works for you versus what might work for someone else? Is there any conflict ever between you and your coaching brain to say to someone, this has worked for me. You've got to do this. You've got to do this. Or are you managing to stay objective with that? Is that a challenge?
Yeah, it is a challenge. You have to be objective. I run 4 times a week on a treadmill.
Yep.
Which is, it's not ideal. We have on a Friday, I have it's called Sacred Friday, and that's when I have to run on the surface that I'm preparing to run on. So my next race is 50k in December on the trail. So on a Friday, I have to run on the trail.
Right.
You need to condition your body to run on the surface that you're running on. So Friday's Sacred Friday. I do 1 long run at the weekend, so I have 1 day off. I personally have 1 day off a week.
What's a long run?
Depends on where you are in your training block, Coachy Marshy. You know that. My long run this weekend is 26 miles.
Okay, cool. Because I'll set the scene for the listeners. I worked at a sports centre, North Cambridge, with Ash's brother Toby, and I just remember being this new half marathon runner, and Tobes just comes out with this statement that his brother's just done a 35-mile training run, and as a half marathoner, at the time I couldn't grasp that concept of like this idea of going for 35 miles. And since then I've done that. And I think when you go out there and you train and you're doing sort of the long runs every Fridays for me would be a long run Friday. When you're going out and doing those long runs, this concept of doing 30 miles back then was so scary. But what I want to try and get across to anyone listening is that I heard about Ash, 10 years ago now, probably this was, that he was going to go for this ultra marathon and he was doing these long training runs, 9 years ago, whatever. And here I am talking to you now, and I've done 30-mile training runs. So I think the message that I would give to anyone is that what Ash has just said there is this important. Don't ever think that where you are now versus where you're going to be, you got to compare that to anyone else. It's your own journey, and it's relative to where you are in your training program. And that's really important, I think. So
yeah. Sorry, mate. I didn't mean to run off there.
No, you're all right. No problem.
Just to finish that, mate. Yeah, I do. It does go back to the comparison thing. Don't compare yourself. It's also important to know where you are on your own journey, but where you are on your journey in terms of the race. I've said about running 26 miles on Saturday. I'm 4 or 5 weeks away from my 50k.
Yeah.
So I'm training hard. I'm in a hard training block at the minute. I'll begin to taper pretty soon, but don't fall into a habit of running long and running hard all the time. I will taper down. I'll race from the 50k. I'll do some light running a couple of weeks, and then I'll start to build again. Don't overcook it, and don't work too hard.
Yeah, no, awesome. So I've got 2 more quick questions for you.
Yeah, mate. Yeah.
So what does running mean to you, and what does running give you?
So
have we got long enough to even cover it?
Yeah. Well, I mean, to me, and I mean this. I do really mean this. Like, running is one of the things in my life that is a true constant in my life. So you can look at the last couple of years. We've had the pandemic. I've closed a business. I've reopened another. We all have our roller coasters of life. I've got 3 children. So you're hit in the face constantly with different things. But the one thing that has remained constant through my life is running. And then from an emotional or a mental perspective, that's remained the one constant thing, and that's probably the one thing that's kept me going on a number of occasions. Why I'm still here in my business. Being self-employed can be tough. Why I like to think I'm still a good dad, because I get my running fix, and I'm a better person for it. And then I guess also the company you meet. You surround yourself with like-minded people that will bring you up. There's no one in ultra running. Well, maybe there is one or two, but there's no one in ultra running that's there to beat you down.
Yeah.
Everyone's there to build you up and a support network.
Yeah, no, love it. Great answer to that. That's anyone who already does it will absolutely understand that answer, and anyone who's looking to get into it may see some real solace in that answer as well. So yeah, the constant bit, I love that. I think that's something that I would say I share with you. So then here we are, we're on the Ultra Running Podcast, and we've got a few listeners that have got in contact since we started this. Your interview number 8 and episode 10 overall. I think, some people want to get into this. They see the YouTube, they see the Netflix, they want to get into this. What would you say your top 3 tips are for someone to get into ultra running? How do they do that?
Get into ultra running. I'd read.
Yep.
Read. I don't want to sell myself here, but I'd probably get a coach.
Yep. I'll back that up all day.
Yeah. Do your research. Ask for help. Don't be frightened to ask for help. There are coaches out there like yourself and myself that love to work with people that are looking to do their first ultra. I think sometimes you can be put off because there are coaches out there that I think, am I good enough for them to coach me? So find a good coach. Remain patient. It's not going to come overnight. You have to remain patient, build slowly. And then, something that I say to all my guys is trust the process, trust the plan, and probably most importantly, enjoy it. Don't push yourself to run 100 miles if you're going to hate every minute of it.
What's the point, mate?
What's the point, man? You have to enjoy your training and enjoy the running. Definitely. So that's what I'd say.
No, that's awesome. That is great advice. That is like golden nugget kind of stuff. Love it. So hopefully some people can really get something from that. So if anyone listening to this episode wanted to follow your journey or look at what you do, how can they do that?
I'm predominantly, I guess, on Instagram. You'll find me on Instagram, naked_Ash. That's NAKD. That's where all my running goes. I know that you've shared a couple of things before. Yeah, mate, I appreciate that. So that's where all my running stuff goes. There's a bit of coaching on there.
Awesome.
It's very much an organic, personal approach to my running and to my coaching. So follow me on Instagram and hopefully, if there's anyone there, we can catch up at some races.
Excellent. So thanks for coming on the show, mate. I really appreciate your time. How was it? Did you enjoy it?
Mate, it's been brilliant. It's my first podcast experience.
Brilliant.
Yeah, I love it. And maybe we can do it again once we've done. When I'd love to hear about your first 100.
Yeah,
And,
no, it'd be good. It'd be good to get someone like yourself to interview me when I do my first 100. That'd be really good because you'll know the probing
love
questions.
to hear about it.
So, and the same for you. We'll have you back on the show when we can. Once you get to that bucket list goal for sure. So, yeah. So anyway, guys, hopefully you enjoyed yourselves and hopefully you found all that very interesting and what Ash had to say. I loved hearing the stories, loved hearing the perspectives as well. So hopefully you enjoyed yourself. Do share the show. Do give it a rating. Anyone you think that might find it useful, feel free to point them in that direction as well, because I'm sure what Ash has had to say is really key to some people out there that are sort of maybe starting their journey off as well. So like I said, I hope you enjoyed yourselves here today, and I hope we can meet here again to discuss more on the Ultra Running Podcast with me, Coach Marshy.